What is up, guys? We're back with more picks and predictions. This weekend, we got UFC Vegas 103 back at the Apex. Pretty stacked fight night card, especially for the Apex. The headliners are Manel versus Almabayev. In the main event, Manel looking to get into title contention in the flyweight division. A win here puts him right there. I mean, similarly for a win here also puts him into title talks for the division. And then we also got some cool fighters like Esteban, who had the absolutely insane fight against Daniel Zellhuber back at the Sphere last year. And yeah, just a bunch of cool fighters on this card. Let's go into a quick recap of us getting absolutely smoked at UFC Seattle, and then let's hop into the picks and predictions for this weekend. All right, so if you take a look at our recap for UFC Seattle, it's going to look like a Playboy Cardi album because all you see is a whole lot of red. You see that kind of got smoked, went 1 for 6 on bets. Realistically, like our worst week since I've started doing this. And yeah, all these two legs split 1-1. Got a little bit unlucky there. And then our straight bets, we had the straight bet on Ebo at minus 135. He went all the way to minus 170 at close. Kudalaba, man, I think his durability has actually got quite a bit better. He ate a ton of power from Ebo, and we knew the ground game was going to be the problem. We just kind of thought that Ebo would be able to get him out of there. Seems like the Turkish power wasn't enough, especially not last weekend. Lose that one. Andre Fili, just absolutely terrible performance by Andre Fili. That just, he just got kind of smoked in there. And then outside of that, like Hernandez versus Allen over 1.5 rounds, plus Simon versus Bashrat over 2.5 rounds. I thought that was actually a really good bet. I thought even if, Bashrat did lose the fight, did not expect him to get KO'd. He's actually a very safe fighter, tends to be very elusive in the cage. He ends up getting smoked in round 1, kind of bust that parlay. The other one, Javid Bashrat, moneyline versus Nursultan Rozaboyev. Yeah, similarly, Rozaboyev free leg, hit that one clean. And then Bashrat, who, was winning the first round, just kind of eats that overhand, boom, goes down, breaks that one. And then you have, Mansour, who looks shaky, especially not at the tag that people were paying for him. I got him at minus 550 early in the week, but he went all the way to minus 1400 on Bet Online. Absolutely insane tag on Mansour. Gets rocked early in round 1. Comes back though in round 2, gets it done. And then Jean Matsumoto, I mean, you can have your kind of own opinions on if he won that fight or not. At that point in the night, to be honest, we were already down like crazy. I didn't really give a fuck what really happened. But, Jean Matsumoto, I wouldn't call it a robbery. The fight was too close to call a robbery. Maybe he won, maybe he didn't. It is what it is. The judges scored that kind of either way, depending on what week it is. And then the only one that hit was Alonzo Menefield, which is absolutely insane fight. These guys were dead in like early round 2. Absolutely insane to watch. Just like two like light heavyweights just kind of, I don't even know what the fuck they were doing in there. But Alonzo Menefield comes through, which I was kind of worried about. And then Anthony Hernandez does what he needs to do and gets the win. So save some grace there. Outside of that, got absolutely smoked. So yeah, let's lock the fuck in and let's come back, much stronger for UFC Vegas 103. All right, so the first fight on the slate here on Tapology, at least, I doubt this will actually be the first fight on the card. If it is, that's insane. This is like co-main level fight, in my opinion. It's Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Temirov. I'm really, really looking forward to this one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and pick Temirov, but I'll explain to you what I think this fight kind of looks like. And realistically, I mean, I think the smarter pick here is actually Charles Johnson. But I think if I'm picking with my heart a little bit, I'm going with Temirov because, he's just absolutely like really fun to watch. The power he brings to the flyweight division is pretty insane, especially for 125 pounds. And then you have Charles Johnson, who I also love as a fighter, super active, always there, putting together a pretty good win streak, especially as of late. So, yeah, I mean, I'll break this down. Charles Johnson's going to have the reach advantage here, 70 inches to 63. So, sizable reach advantage for Energy going into this matchup. He is going to be, the cleaner, more high-volume striker in this matchup as well. Both these guys are pretty well-rounded. If it goes to the ground, neither of them are going to be lost. It's going to be interesting to see which one of these two will go and implement any offensive takedowns into their, game plan. Maybe this could just be a pure striking match. I mean, I wouldn't be too surprised. But, we know someone like Charles Johnson, he is crafty. He has been around for a while. So Charles Johnson is the type of person to, have the IQ that if the striking round is close and he feels like he can get an offensive takedown or, get like maybe 45 seconds of control time up against the fence and something like that could swing the round in his favor, Charles Johnson is going to go for that. We do kind of know enough about Charles Johnson when it comes to that manner. On the Temirov side, though, I mean, like I said, he is decently well-rounded. He's not going to be lost on the ground. Do I know if he's going to shoot for a takedown? I don't. Can't really tell you that. He obviously has one fight in the UFC in which he, disposed of CJ Vergara. CJ Vergara, if I'm not mistaken, had never been knocked out before that. Yeah, I think he had been finished by submission, but never been knocked out prior to that. And like I said, man, Temirov, he brings an insane level of power to the flyweight division, something that, I haven't really seen much of. So that's what I'm going with. I'm going with Temirov because of that. Maybe it's a little bit picking with my heart, like I said. I think the odds are pretty accurate for this fight as well. You've seen both these guys kind of flip between dog and pick 'em throughout like the time the line has been up, which I think does make a ton of sense. And then, yeah, if you're on the Charles Johnson side, the way you're probably going to get this win is simply, he lands more volume in the strikes. And like I said, timely wrestling, kind of when needed. And then on the Temirov side, he's probably going to land less, but he's going to land some of those big ones that maybe Johnson goes down, maybe he gets brocked, maybe he gets wobbled, and that kind of swings around in Temirov's favor. So Temirov's going to get the power. Johnson's going to have the volume, a little bit more technique. Both these guys are going to land on each other, though. That I know for sure. And who implements the wrestling? I mean, if I had to guess, I can know that Charles Johnson will, but, Temirov has it in the back pocket if he needs to use it. So, yeah, both of these guys super well-rounded. Really, really good matchup. My pick's going to be Temirov. I like the hype. I'm on the hype train, and, yeah, let's see what happens. Okay, now up next, we have Montana De La Rosa versus Luana Carolina. I'm going to go with Luana Carolina in this matchup. I mean, for this one, I'm going to keep it pretty simple, pretty, straightforward. Montana De La Rosa, she's going to get this fight to the ground. Luana Carolina, her striking is pretty good. It's actually really good. And, in her fights, constantly, her opponents are going to try to get her to the ground. So this is not going to be anything new for Luana Carolina. Montana De La Rosa probably does have a little bit better wrestling than Lucy Padalova, who was Carolina's last opponent. But in that fight, she defended some takedowns. She did, really well in the striking. It's going to be pretty similar here. I feel like, De La Rosa is going to want to get her down. She might have some success, but I think Carolina's going to be, standing up for enough of this fight to, get the decision. So Carolina gets it done probably by decision. And yeah, I think on the De La Rosa side, if you think she can get the takedowns, then I can understand that. But, I don't see her doing enough to get the decision. So I'm going to go with Carolina to win this one. All right, up next, we have Lucas Almeida versus Danny Silva. I'm going to go ahead and pick Lucas Almeida to win this matchup against Danny Silva. I feel like, Danny Silva, I did pick him and I did bet him to beat Josh Kulibau in his UFC debut. Won that fight by split decision, and I'm personally not super high on Josh Kulibau. So, having a close fight against him means that, in higher level competition, you might struggle if you're Danny Silva. And then on the Lucas Almeida side, he's got a bunch more experience in the UFC. He does have some losses to people like Andre Fili, who, had a trash performance last week. But outside of that, Andre Fili is pretty good. And then Pat Sabatini, who I also think is pretty good as well. Coming off a win to Timmy Kwamba, that fight went all the way. And yeah, I feel like in this fight against Danny Silva, man, Danny Silva's tough. He's durable. Volume and just, work ethic is going to be his friend in the octagon. Probably going to be the reason why he does win most of the fights that he does. So he's going to throw a fuck ton. I think on the feet, Lucas Almeida is going to be the cleaner striker. He's going to be able to catch him. Someone like Danny Silva is going to be coming in hot always, throughout the entire fight. So, Lucas Almeida can counterpunch a lot. He's just going to have a lot of opportunity to just hit Danny Silva as he's coming in. And Silva will eat, man. Silva will eat shots. He's super durable, and he's going to be super active. So he's going to be throwing shots back at Lucas Almeida as well. That is the one thing that's pretty interesting here. Can Lucas Almeida just be overpowered by Danny Silva? Because Danny Silva is the type of person to, potentially do that to someone if, they're not going to be super durable themselves. So, but, at the same time, Danny Silva, not really that one-punch power type of guy. I think Almeida, even if he is getting overpowered, can, just back away a little bit, take some time off, and, come back in. So I feel like in this matchup, Lucas Almeida is going to have the edge. He's going to be the more cleaner guy. The one thing that is interesting, though, is if someone's going to shoot a takedown, it is going to be Danny Silva. We saw him do that against Josh Kulibau. So maybe, this volume striking isn't doing enough for Danny Silva, and he throws in some wrestling, some takedowns to kind of just do enough to win the round. Like I said, if Danny Silva wins, it's just going to be through work ethic. So, yeah, I mean, I'm picking Lucas Almeida to win. Probably not going to be betting this spot just because Danny Silva is a dog. I don't like betting against people like that. And yeah, we'll move on to the next one. All right, I'm keeping this next one super short. It's Andrea Lee versus JJ Aldrich. Andrea Lee is 0-5 in her last 5. JJ Aldrich is 2-3 in her last 5. And I'm not going to lie, none of us should be betting on this fight, so I'm not going to make this one long. If you are betting on this fight, yeah, good for you. But at that point, I mean, you might as well just go play some blackjack, in my opinion. So I'm going to go with Andrea Lee here. I'm going to pick the underdog because fuck it, why not? Who the fuck knows what's going to happen here? Andrea Lee lost 5 in a row. I'm saying she's snapping the loss streak. Hasn't won a fight since 2021. But yeah, I mean, I think she's a cleaner striker. I think that, JJ Aldrich is going to need some takedowns in this matchup to get it done. And, I don't think she's going to do enough. Like I said, I'm going to keep it short. Andrea Lee, better kickboxer, better Muay Thai fighter. Maybe she gets this one done. But like I said, don't be betting on this fight. All right, up next we have Douglas Silva de Andrade versus John Castaneda. And I'm going to go with John Castaneda here. I think the line is a little bit wide here. I'm not going to lie. Kind of hard for me to chalk John Castaneda at minus 290 against, Douglas, who's going to be game. He's 39 years old, but I mean, now that we kind of have been seeing a lot of fighters around 40 just kind of still performing really well. So I think 40 is a new 30, especially with the way medicine and stuff has been improving. I feel like older fighters still have a pretty decent shot. And yeah, I mean, Douglas Silva, he's going to be there. He's not going to quit. He's going to be full 15 minutes on go mode, and coming off a loss to Miles Johns. I think he kind of got dominated in that fight against Miles Johns, but Miles Johns is really good, really well-rounded, ton of power and great wrestling. Before that, his loss to Said Nurmagomedov, and then prior to that, it was Lerone Murphy, then Peter Yan. I mean, this guy has fought just really high-level comp, and then John Castaneda, on the other hand, his loss are a little bit worse, Daniel Marcos, Daniel Santos, and he's going to be busy. He's going to have the youth on his side. He's going to be the more active fighter. I think the equity when it comes to wrestling is going to be on his side as well. It's kind of just more like, okay, cool. What type of Douglas Silva are we getting? How much does he still have left in the tank? And to be honest, at 3-1 odds for John Castaneda, I don't think Castaneda is good enough to just purely execute a game plan that Douglas can do nothing for. So I feel like there's holes in John Castaneda's game. Both these guys, it's probably just going to be a striking match, to be honest. You're going to have to pick the youth on the Castaneda side, but like I said, I think the odds are a little bit too far wide for my liking. So not sure if I can chalk John Castaneda here, but he will be the pick. All right, the featured prelim, we have Ricardo Ramos versus Chepe Mariscal. I'm going to go with Chepe Mariscal. I think it's pretty hard to pick Ricardo Ramos in this matchup, and the main thing it comes down to here is just purely durability. You have Chepe Mariscal on one hand, who's known to be an absolute dog, an absolute beast, will go hard 15 minutes, not give up on himself, and sometimes even if the skills are lacking behind, it's the heart that gets him through the fights. And he is pretty well-rounded. He is pretty skilled. You see him do well standing up. You see him get timely takedowns in his matchups. And then you have someone like Ricardo Ramos, who's the exact opposite in my opinion. I mean, technically he is pretty skilled, has some slick submissions, kind of has it all, but it's just his durability does not keep up with him. Even in his last fight, he has a split decision win against Josh Coulibaly. Like I said earlier, I'm not high on split decision wins against Josh Coulibaly. I'm not high on Danny Silva after he did that. I'm not high on Ricardo Ramos after he did that. And, Josh Coulibaly in that fight, I think in the third round, I had a bet on Ricardo Ramos in that fight. So I'm happy he got the split decision win. But in that third round, Ricardo Ramos' leg was done, if I remember correctly. He was like one leg kick away from just dropping, giving it up. But I think he had won rounds 1 and 2 or in that matchup or something along those lines. So he did thug it out, did show a little bit of heart, keeping that leg safe and going for some timely takedowns and getting them on Josh Coulibaly in that fight. But super close split decision win, much closer than the Danny Silva split decision win on Josh Coulibaly. So the Ramos one was insanely razor thin, could have gone either way, and he ends up getting that. I don't think that's going to be Chepe Mariscal this weekend, though. I feel like Chepe Mariscal is just going to go in there, just be an absolute buzzsaw on Ricardo Ramos. If Ramos throws one, Chepe will throw two. If Ramos goes for a takedown, Chepe will go for a reversal immediately. He will just outwork Ricardo Ramos insanely in this fight. I think that probably finds a finish, Chepe. I think the more Chepe wins early, the more likely Ramos is to just kind of give it up and just let the fight end. Definitely, if this goes all three, Chepe's winning that third round for sure, guaranteed. So he's got to pick up one of the two in the first two, and I just think that he's too well-rounded, he's too durable, he's too much of the opposite of Ricardo Ramos to pick against in this fight. So I'm pretty confident that Chepe Mariscal is a very safe parlay leg for this weekend. He's going to be my pick. Sorry for the rambling, but yeah, the durability, it's just like a yin and yang in this matchup for me. All right, guys, I wanted to take a quick break to give you guys an opportunity to get our premium bets for free for a month. If that's not something you're interested in, feel free to just skip this part and go ahead into the next breakdown. But if you guys do want our premium bets for free for 1 month, it's very simple. Just join up in our Discord and DM me that that's something you're looking for. And yeah, all you really have to do is sign up for one of our affiliate books, which just makes a ton of sense because I'm assuming if you want our premium bets, you're going to be betting on these fights anyways, and you're going to need a sports book to bet these fights on. So sign up for one of our partner sports books, use code KOPICKS, and once everything is complete, if you guys do want to do that, then I can go ahead and give you our premium bets for 1 month for free. So if that is something that you're looking for, join our Discord and just DM me that's something you want to do. We'll figure out, for based on where you live, what the best sportsbook partner is for you, and then we kind of just go from there. Once you guys sign up and the sign up comes through, then yeah, I'll send over our bets for 1 month for free. And yeah, we'll move on to the next breakdown. All right, now we got the main card opener. We got Danny Barlow versus Sam Patterson. This main card is pretty stacked for a fight night, especially at the Apex. So, really looking forward to this main card. And in the first fight, I'm going to go with Sam Patterson, the underdog, to beat Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow's last fight against Nikolai Veretennikov, we just saw got absolutely dominated in his last fight at UFC Seattle. Nikolai Veretennikov, super close fight, split decision. And, Danny Barlow a little bit hesitant to throw. Prior to that, he goes knocks Josh Kinlan out in the third round. I think Kinlan was, standing in there, had some decent moments, dogged it out, but I think Barlow, was clearly winning that fight, just landing a bunch more. Ends up getting the knockout in the third round to Josh Kinlan, but Josh Kinlan's trash. He lost to Trey Waters in the UFC, then he lost to Danny Barlow, then he lost to Adam Fugate, and then he went to the regional scene, and he got rear naked choked in Fury UFC in the first round. So Josh Kinlan, not up to snuff when it comes to UFC level comp. Danny Barlow knocks him on the third round, and I think in this matchup, Danny Barlow will be able to knock out Sam Patterson if he does land clean. But, Sam Patterson does have a similar reach to Danny Barlow. Danny Barlow's slight reach advantage, but nothing crazy. So Sam Patterson's going to be there. His striking is decently clean, and all the grappling equity lies on Sam Patterson here. I think if Patterson does get a takedown, he's slick enough to find a submission on the ground here. So yeah, I'm going to go with Sam Patterson, man. I like the grappling equity. I think he's going to come in here with a pretty strict game plan against someone like Danny Barlow, especially someone who does have the power of Danny Barlow. So I think Sam Patterson should come in here, really strict game plan. His one loss in the UFC is to Yanal Ashmus, where he, got absolutely knocked the fuck out with a pretty crazy strike. So that is something I feel like he should learn from that mistake. Come in here and not get knocked the fuck out and take Danny Barlow down, kind of lock in there. I think he can do it. I'm going to go with the underdog, and let's move on to the next fight. All right, up next, we got William Gomis versus Hyder Amil. I'm going to go with William Gomis in this matchup. I think that Hyder Amil poses a pretty similar threat to what Joanderson Brito posed against William Gomis, and William Gomis was able to tame Joanderson Brito in that close split decision win. I rewatched the fight. Fight was too close to kind of call a robbery, so the decision is what it is. And Joanderson Brito, also, an absolute buzzsaw in the octagon. Does have better takedowns and ground game than Hyder Amil, though, in my opinion. But, on the feet, Hyder Amil's coming there with insane power and just trying to take your head off. So William Gomis kind of went through a matchup like this with Joanderson Brito, was able to tame him. I think he's going to know what to do in this Hyder Amil matchup. He's really good at staying safe. But nonetheless, last week we had Javid Bashrat, who I thought was, much more skilled, much more talented than Ricky Simon. And Simon was able to, just kind of land that knockout punch on him. So William Gomis is known to stay very safe. Similarly, Bashrat is also known to stay very safe, but he ended up getting caught, so who knows? But William Gomis is my pick. I think skill for skill, he's the guy. I also think that, he has obviously the cardio to go all three. He did that with Joanderson Brito. I think this poses a very similar threat to him. So I think he's going to be well prepared for this matchup. I'm going to go with Gomis to win it. All right, up next, we got Austen Lane versus UFC debut Mario Pinto. And, I got to go with Mario Pinto in this matchup. I think he probably does find a knockout. Austen Lane coming off a win to the, biggest fraud of 2024, Robelis de Spain. Robelis de Spain looked like an absolute animal. I was all over Robelis de Spain. Comes out there, 18-second knockout to Josh Parisian. And, he was on, a 4-fight win streak. Obviously, 3 fights in the regional scene. And then that Josh Parisian fight where the one fight was 12 seconds long. The next one was 3 seconds. The next one was 4 seconds. And then Josh Parisian in the UFC, 18 seconds. And you're like, okay, is this guy like the real deal? And then he fights Waldo Cortez Acosta, who just absolutely just dominates him just by just taking him the fuck down. Like, oh, does this guy have no takedown defense at all? You're like, maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he learned a little bit from that matchup. Then he fights Austen Lane and boom, just cannot defend takedowns whatsoever. So, that's a Robelis de Spain rant. I'm going to go back to the topic. And there's Austen Lane versus Mario Pinto. Mario Pinto 9-0, making his UFC debut. Dominant striker, gets a bunch of knockouts, has a ton of power. And, Austen Lane, just super slow on the feet. Maybe he does mix in some wrestling once again. Maybe he found success with that in the Robelis fight, but it's hard to say because, like I said, both people that Robelis kind of fought and he lost to found a bunch of success in the wrestling. So I think that's more of a knock on Robelis than it is on Austen Lane's grappling. So yeah, I'm going to go with Mario Pinto. I think he does find the chin. Prior to that win, Austen Lane was knocked out by Yonata Denise and then Justin Tafa. And I'm pretty low on Justin Tafa. I think Denise is pretty decent, but I'm pretty low on Justin Tafa. So got knocked out by Tafa. I think Pinto can come in here, find the chin, probably first or second round, get Austen Lane out of there. All right, this next fight is going to be absolutely fun as fuck to watch. It's Nasrat Haqparast versus Esteban Ribovic. Both these guys, high volume strikers. Pretty good strikers too, throw quite a bit. Both have dog in them, both have heart, and both are fairly durable. Esteban Ribovic, obviously, everyone's super high on him right now after that fight against Daniel Zellhuber, where he did win by split decision, and I think, they split the first and second round. Going into round 3, Esteban got, rocked. It looked like, round 3 was kind of a done deal for Daniel Zellhuber, and then right after he gets rocked, maybe like 20 seconds after, he goes in there and just absolutely throws a flurry, rocks Daniel Zellhuber even worse, and, kind of comes in and gets the win there. So crazy fight to watch. Had a bet on Esteban Ribovic actually in that matchup, so pretty cool to see that one go down. Really hyped up. That was at the Sphere, and now he's fighting Nasrat Haqparast, who, Haqparast is, like I said, decent, high volume striker, coming off a split decision win himself against Jared Gordon. I just think that in this matchup, Esteban Ribovic is going to be a little bit quicker, a little bit snappier. I think he's going to carry a little bit more power, and I think when it comes down to durability at the end of the day, Haqparast has heart. He's definitely not a quitter. He has dog in him. But, sometimes I think his body is just going to let him down where Ribovic's body is not. And I actually think Esteban does find a knockout or a finish in this matchup against Haqparast. I think if the fight goes to the ground, I like the equity to be more on the Esteban side anyways. I think he has a better takedowns, the better jiu-jitsu. I don't really see this fight going to the ground, though. I think both these guys are going to stand there. They're going to bang. And I think that while Haqparast, like I said, does have heart, I think the durability sometimes will just give in. And I think that Esteban actually finds a knockout on Haqparast in this matchup. So, Esteban, like we saw in the Zellhuber fight, carries power throughout all 3 rounds, can do it at any point in time. And I think the knockout actually comes fairly late because I do think Haqparast can, kind of stay on the ball a little bit early in the fight. But I think maybe like a round 2, even round 3 knockout is live for Esteban Ribovic. So I'm going to go Ribovic to win this matchup. Fairly confident. Like I said, a lot of people are really high on him, and a lot of people love him for the way he fights. I'm one of those people, and yeah, we're going to move on to the next matchup. All right, now we have the co-main event. We got Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. I think the bout order is a little bit fucked up. I think maybe the Ribovic fight or, I don't know. Yeah, probably the Ribovic fight is probably the co-main event for this matchup. Maybe even the first fight, the Charles Johnson versus Ramazan Temirov. Wouldn't mind that to be the co-main event, but, we got Cody Brundage versus Julian Marquez. And I'm going to go with Cody Brundage, and it's kind of interesting. Tapology has him picked at 81%. Cody Brundage opened as a dog. He's been the dog all week. He's kind of been, closing in a little bit. I think he opened at plus 150. He's now sitting at plus 130. So some money's been coming in on Cody Brundage to kind of bring that line a little bit tighter. But, the bookies see something that I think a lot of the general public don't, or the general public see something that the bookies don't. I mean, normally it tends to be the bookies see shit that we don't. But, in this matchup, it's kind of hard for me to pick Julian Marquez. 3-fight, knockout loss streak to RoboCop, then Marc-Andre Barrial, and then Zach Reese. And then you have Cody Brundage, it's a Cody Brundage fight, so you probably lock in Cody Brundage win by DQ anyways. But he's coming off that no contest to Abdul Razak Al Hassan. Prior to that, he fought Bo Nickel at UFC 300. I think that was UFC 300. I don't remember. Yeah, it was UFC 300. And, he got beat by Bo Nickel in the second round. But, Cody Brundage is good wrestling. He's got decent power on the hands, and I think his striking is getting a little bit better as he progresses. So, Julian Marquez, I think he's just kind of washed at this point. I think he's just taking so much damage. I think Cody Brundage just kind of finds a knockout on him. I think he's got some power to kind of get that one done. I think, his wrestling's decent too. I think definitely help him in this matchup as well. So I'm going to go with Cody Brundage, a little bit more well-rounded. Like I said, I don't see how he's the underdog here. Seems like a lot of the community is also behind Cody Brundage in this matchup. So that is interesting. Something to normally see. I know a lot of people in our community, in our Discord, tend to, normally fade the public dog because it's definitely the books seeing something that we don't. So I would keep that in mind if you're on, kind of that side when it comes to why is Julian Marquez the favorite when everyone thinks Cody Brundage should be the favorite. Maybe that's something to kind of be weary about. But, from my perspective, Brundage has to be the pick. I don't kind of see myself picking Julian Marquez in 2025. And yeah. All right. Now the main event, we got Manel Kape versus Asu Almabayev. And I'm going to go ahead and pick Manel Kape to beat Asu Almabayev in the main event. I'll tell you why. We got Manel Kape, obviously, coming off that dominant performance against Bruno Silva, where he did get that third round TKO. And, he just kind of styled on Bruno Silva the entire fight. Prior to that, he had the, loss to Muhammad Mokaev, where I think 2 of 3 judges gave him that third round. And then we have Asu Almabayev, who's, been on a tear, undefeated since he joined the UFC. Joined in 2023, beat Ode Osborne. Then he beat CJ Vergara in 2024, Jose Johnson in 2024, and Mateus Nicolau in 2024. So an active 2024, fought 3 times, picked up 3 wins for Asu Almabayev. So, he's been in the octagon, which I do like quite a bit. But the reason why I'm going to have to pick Manel Kape to be Asu is, a little bit does lie on that Mateus Nicolau fight where his wrestling didn't look as dominant. Prior to that, he did have a dominant performance against Jose Johnson, but, he went all 3 rounds against a 6-foot flyweight who obviously, I think you guys know, I'm super low on Jose Johnson. I picked Felipe Bunes to beat him as an underdog. I obviously had a bet on Asu Almabayev to beat him, but I actually thought Asu should be able to, find a submission on a 6-foot flyweight that he's going to just dominate on the ground for 3 rounds, but he ends up dominating him on the ground for 3 rounds and not finding a finish. Not super impressive, in my opinion. I think he should be able to get Jose Johnson out there. We saw Felipe Bunes lock up the submission early in round 1 and armbar. And, like I said, he's 6 feet tall, so he's going to have those long limbs. Should be able to, wrap some submissions up. But Asu was not able to do that. Went all 3 unanimous decision dominant. But, I realistically think he should have found the finish there. And then after that, the Mateus Nicolau decision was a unanimous decision. But, that fight was a little bit closer than I thought. He didn't impose the wrestling as much as he did in his prior fights. So I think we're kind of seeing Asu hit the level of where he is, which is a really good fighter, but and definitely deserving to be ranked in the flyweight division. But it seems to be this is where he stops dominating comp. And Manel Kape, man, he had that camp against Muhammad Mokaev. I think this is a very, very similar, problem to kind of deal with when it comes to someone like Asu. And I think, Mokaev is definitely better than Asu Almabayev. So, Manel Kape, 3 rounds, 15 full minutes with Mokaev. Picked up that 3rd round, kind of figured it out. He's going to go into this fight knowing that it's either going to look like that where he just doesn't do enough and ends up losing the fight, or he's going to have to switch it up and kind of act like how he did in that 3rd round of that Mokaev fight. So I feel like, Manel Kape is decently prepared for this. I also like the fact that, that fight ended after that 3rd round, but this fight's going to be 5 rounds. So I think that's going to help Manel Kape definitely. So even if he's a little bit gun shy, kind of see what Asu is going to do in that first round, maybe that first 2 rounds. He's got 5 rounds to pick it up and start working against Asu Almabayev. So I think Manel Kape's going to get this one done. I think the over is pretty cool. You guys should definitely follow us on Twitter. I posted a screenshot of the over 3.5 rounds being at minus 185 on Monday. And now it's at minus 240 at the time of me recording this already. So yeah, I think the over should be pretty good. I think that, with that wrestling threat that Asu does pose, I think the early rounds are going to be a lot of feel out for someone like Manel Kape. He will start picking up later on. But we also in that Mokaev fight, those fights are going to just slow down a bit for Manel Kape. So it's not going to really look like him styling on Bruno Silva like he did in his last fight. So yeah, I'm going to go with Manel Kape to win this matchup. Like I said, I think the 5 rounds favors him. I think he can start picking it up late, especially. I think the Mokaev camp, the Mokaev fight, 15 minutes in the octagon with Mokaev is definitely I think the best experience you could probably get for someone like Asu Almabayev. And I think that, Mokaev is a higher level fighter than Asu Almabayev as well. Especially with the way that we've seen Almabayev perform against comp like Jose Johnson and then Mateus Nicolau. So I'm going with Manel Kape because of those reasons. 5 rounds kind of being the big one. I think he probably gets this one done by decision. If there's a knockout, I think it's late in the fight. I don't think it's some early knockout stuff happening in this matchup. And yeah, Manel Kape's going to be a decision. I think he wins this fight. I think he gets, in title contention for the flyweight division at the end of this weekend. All right, guys, that wraps up the picks and predictions for UFC Vegas 103. We had a rough week at UFC Seattle last week. It is what it is, though. These kind of weeks are just going to come and go. We're going to stick with what we know, though. We're going to go with our guts. We're going to do what we're normally used to doing. And we have some spots up for UFC Vegas 103 right now on Premium. So if you do want to check out our bets, it does help support the channel as well. It's $20 a month on kopicks.win. Definitely, sign up if that's something you're looking for. And yeah, if you do want to join our Discord community as well, our Discord community is free. The link's in our bio. Join up if you have any questions as well. And if you join the Discord, then you can DM me. I'm the admin. I can answer any questions you might have about Premium or just, how we kind of run things here at KO Picks. So yeah, definitely join up if that's something you're looking for. And good luck to everyone on their bets for UFC Vegas 103 this weekend.